Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Political Zone. I'm Hassan Zafar. It's about over a week that we are in the situation, the war between Israel and Iran. And in the absence of any credible data available to us, any credible news available to us from both sides, Israel and Iran, about the number of casualties, about the scale of losses on both sides. The question is, how do we determine that who is winning this war so far? So this is the main point of discussion today, and we'll discuss it with Dr. Farah Naz, who is joining us from Australia. Dr. Farah, thank you so much. This is the main question that we are trying to address right now. But let's look at the ways in which we can determine it. I have this idea that if we look at the target set by Israel at the outset of the war, and the target was to dismantle Iran's nuclear capability. Next comes the idea of regime change. Both objectives have not been achieved. So from Israel's perspective, where is Netanyahu standing? Because he set out to wage this war with this main objective, which has not been achieved so far. And from Iran's point of view, defending these assets and protecting the regime was apparently, if we look at the counterpoint to Israel's position. So this appears to be Iran's objective. How do you see this situation?
Dr. Hassan, I think you have rightly mentioned in the beginning that the way this war has started and then the type of information that is available to the general public, it's not very clear that who is winning and who is losing in this war. But I must say, if I look into like a security scholar, if I look into the dynamics of this war, the way Israel started the war by targeting the Iranian nuclear scientists on its soil, Iranian politicians on its soil, and by infiltrating its intelligence agency Mossad into the soil of Iran, I think that was a big blow for Iran's, and that was to me a failure to the Iran's, the war dynamics, because this is not the first time that Iran and Israel are getting into war with each other or into conflict with each other. They have always been prepared for these kind of situations to arise. But the nature of this war is probably different from the previous versions of the wars because this is more like directly hitting each other. So this is like a new ball game to me in the war or the dynamics between Iran and Israel. Now, the way Iran retaliated, the way Iran responded by directly hitting the Israeli military compounds and even the hospital, which is very close to the Israeli Defense Force headquarters and stuff. I think this is a huge development from Iran's side. The number of missiles that will strike on Israel, it is a huge kind of thing for Iranian potential and capability that they have the potential, they have the capability to target Israel whenever they want to. I think the way Israeli defense mechanism has failed in countering those missiles, in intercepting those missiles, I think that's a huge failure. I probably was not expecting this from Israel, who is very well prepared. And I was just reading through some of the comments which are coming from the international scholars and media sources. There have been reports that probably Israel is a nuclear power state. So, from a nuclear power state and from Israel, which is a very strong kind of country in terms of its military might, defense force, and its strategies, I was not expecting it that this could happen. So, to me, when we talk about who is winning the war, I think Iran has nailed it with its limited resources, with all the number of sanctions that the world, particularly the Western powers, they have imposed on Iran, and still they have the potential to fight back with this force. So it's a big kind of progress for Iran at the moment.
Yes, and if Israeli air defense system, the Iron Dome, and other mechanism, if they have not proved so effective against Iranian arsenal, Iranian weapons, that can actually lead us into a very dangerous situation. Imagine if Israeli major key installations are hit anytime in the days to come, or maybe in the hours to come, Israel can, do you think that there is a possibility that Israel can go for a nuclear attack in a state of desperation, given that President Trump has announced 2 weeks to think over the possibility of US joining the war from Israeli side?
I think any country who is using nuclear weapon, we have seen in the past as well, there's a last resort. So I don't think so Israel will use it straight away. They will take their sweet time. They will take their time to, to fight back, and definitely they will push America to get on board. Europe has clearly stated, like there are lots of discussion going on in Geneva at the moment as well. They have said we don't want to get involved into this war. But how long they can keep themselves away if America gets into this war? Um, at the moment, I think President Trump, there's a lot of pressure on him from within as well, because he promised his own people when he was doing the election campaign that he will not involve America into any kind of war. So if he get into war, this will be like going against his election rhetoric that he has set for himself and the people of America. So I think that's not suiting him, but he probably will come up with a different strategy by involving other countries diplomatically to engage and to bring this war to an easy kind of situation between Israel and Iran. But I would say with the recent attacks of Iran on Israel and Tel Aviv, I don't see Israel is going to sit quiet on that, because the way Hamas kind of, when they attacked, that the casualties were not that big. But Iran directly attacked their installations. Their people have been targeted. The numbers, the casualties are not coming out very loudly. But still, like, we can see the impact is going to be much more stronger. If the discussions are taking place on international media like CNN, Fox News, BBC, and all those channels, if they are reporting about it, yeah, all these stations have been targeted. And even they are now crying over the attack on the hospital as well. So I was like really kind of thinking about that today. They are very concerned about one hospital, but they have, bring down several hospitals, I think 17 of them in Gaza. Where were all these channels? Where were all these people who were not even bringing the voice towards it?
12,000 children killed in Gaza. We have seen that happening. You are living in Australia. You are a professor of international relations, so that gives us an opportunity to explore this discussion from a Western point of view. How is the West looking at the situation at the moment? The Western media, Australian media, where you are situated at the moment.
They are a bit like if we talk about Israel and Iran. So there is this soft element with Iran in terms of the way Israel attacked first. And we have seen it that the Iraq war, where they were saying they are weapons of mass destruction, but towards the end they say, oh, with due apologies, we could not find any, by, destroying the whole country, killing thousands of people and making their lives miserable. So now that people are aware that probably this could be a pseudo exercise, they don't know. But the fear of that probably Iran will get nuclear, this is very strong in the Western society and in the Western media. They don't want any country which is hostile to the Western powers who get nuclear. They consider it as a threat against everyone. But here my question, Dr. Hassan, is that who has given them this authority that they can acquire nuclear weapon, but any other country for their self-defense, they don't have the right to acquire nuclear weapon. If today Israel is threatened with Iran, Iran is equally threatened with Israel as well. So we need to maintain a good balance between who is threatened and at what capacity. If Iran cannot acquire nuclear weapon, Israel should also not acquire nuclear weapon. There should be a standard rule in the international law, in the international system, which should be prevailed by and accepted by all states, irrespective of they being powerful or they being in in the pocket of all those powerful countries. It should not matter. But unfortunately, this is not the scenario here in the world politics of today, where some countries, they are privileged and others have to abide by the rules, regulations that are set by all those privileged countries. So unfortunately, there's I can't say confusion, there's a confusion in the Australian media, but they are sure of that, yes, whatever Israel has done is not the right way to do with Iran, but at the same time, they're worried about Iran's getting nuclear as well. So it's like a mixed kind of feeling.
Yes, good that you mentioned international law, because that was the next thing I wanted to ask you. International law, what is the status of international law in a world where, as you rightly mentioned, the West has the right to possess nuclear weapons and all other weapons of mass destruction, but on the other hand, non-Western nations are not entitled to have them. So this is a one-sided international law, if you like to put it that way. International law works in favor of the West. So where do you see international law standing in the current scenario? Let's not forget the statement of the Chinese president and the statements that are coming from the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. They are taking a very strong position in relation to this. So it's a clear divide between West and the non-West.
Yeah, I think you have, yeah, sorry, I missed the last bit, but I think you have clearly mentioned that there is an obvious tilt in the international law towards the West. But the tilt is not natural, this is organically placed there. When the League of Nations failed, they created the United Nations. And through the United Nations, the veto power states, they're not very happy with Russia and China being there because they're also considered as a bullier for them. This is how the system works. When we speak about international law in particular, we have seen the way international law has been, just totally and badly destroyed and damaged in the Gaza war. The way Israel kind of, violated all rules, regulations of the law, of the international law, and not a single country has questioned those ones except a few. So that takes us back to that understanding that is it all about all the international law is all about these powerful countries? Are they only going to to tailor it according to their requirements? So we have seen it in the past as well, and probably this is what is going to happen in the future as well. Probably there is now a time, and I have heard at many forums that they want to talk about that probably it's time that we revise all those norms and regulations because probably they have failed. And secondly, they're also talking about at the same time when the rules regulations have failed at the international level, they're also talking about the democracy is also not a suitable kind of form of government as well, which we can tell all those states that whatever governments you have is not up to the standard and up to the mark. So now being like in academia, we often discuss these kind of topics in our classrooms as well, and we talk about what's next, and everybody is coming up with an idea that international law has failed completely to bring justice, and that justice which needs to be given to the people of Gaza whose life has been affected. I'm afraid in times to come, if the Israeli atrocities on Iran does not stop, then they will also be taken as the way there are sympathies across the world towards Gaza, there will be sympathies towards Iranians as well. Because even in this incident, the way Israel attacked, it was loud and clear that Israel was preparing for, it was trying to cut down all the other factions who were supporting Iran or Iran was supporting them. So first Israel tried to work on Hamas, and after that this was ultimately Israel was planning to do. And even with the recent statements that Netanyahu has provided that he is all up to the strategy or the plan that he has designed, he's executing those ones. And even he's bringing Trump into this game as well, which is going to be a dirty game for both of these countries to play together. If this was a plan, if this was already decided that they're going to kill thousands of people in Gaza and then come over Iran, this is a very bad strategy that they have decided and come up for. Today in the Western world, nobody is ignoring and forgiving whatever they have done in Iraq. So whatever they have done in Gaza and after that in Iran, nobody's going to forgive them. So probably that will lead towards the demise of all those powerful countries. This is my own opinion.
Yes, and if international law is going to be revised, and the world is not happy with the way it has worked so far, because the chief principle of the international law, so far as we have known, is to protect the Western interest. And we also know the slogans like anti-Semitism, which have provided space to the Israelis to inflict whatever kind of message they wanted to inflict on their neighbors. So, where is all this standing at the moment? This notion of anti-Semitism, which it kind of inculcated sympathy for the Israelis, does it work anymore?
This anti-Semitic, I think it's still working for them until the Western countries they support it. I give you a story, Dr. Hassan. There was an Australian visiting America recently, and he was stopped at the immigration for 12 hours, and he was put in under detention. And then there was a thorough investigation against this gentleman, and he was on holiday. He was Australian citizen, and he was not any brown. He was a fair white Australian. So that was a big surprise to all of us, that why he was put under detention over there. And the story that he shared was that when during his academic life in the University of Columbia, he wrote a piece in which he said that whatever is happening in Gaza is not the right way, and Israel is doing wrong. And then that piece that he has written, he posted it somewhere, and that piece was taken by the immigration department, and it was used against him. So they said they gave him one option, that either you give us our phone and we're going to take all your contacts, and probably they're going to bully him in the future, or you just take the next flight and go home. So this kind of when you talk about anti-Semitism, this thing is still prevailing in the Western world, and it's not only against you and me; it's against everyone, irrespective of what color, what backgrounds they're holding. I'm aware of several professors who just simply used terminologies that if you are killing their children, tomorrow they will kill your children. They have been removed from their positions, the permanent positions that they were holding. So anti-Semitism is still there. They do not want to listen anything against Jews in particular. But to me, Dr. Hassan, I don't have a problem with the Jews. I have problem with the Zionist regime. I have problem with Netanyahu and his policies, with his strategies. I don't mind mingling and talking to any Jews, because they are just innocent people like us. We should not be targeting those people. We should only criticize the Netanyahu's policies, his strategies, his butchery against all those innocent people whose life have been affected, no matter if it is in Iran today or if it was in Gaza. The situation in both countries, in Gaza and Iran, is completely different, but still, like the atrocities, the way they are, going with a force to stop their voices and to impose their will on them, it's not justified by all ways and means.
Yeah, so last question, as we started talking about who is winning the war, and we have no accurate data to determine at this point where both countries are standing in terms of their losses and gains, but we can at least have some opinion about whose narrative is winning in the world, which side is coming out better with the narrative.
I think Iran's narrative is getting more popular for a variety of reasons. The way Israel attacked its leadership, the way even they said that their top leader is going to be targeted and he is on their target list, the way they targeted the nuclear scientist, it's in civilians. I think Iran's narrative is much stronger in comparison to Israel. And probably that's the reason nobody is supporting Israel, because of the recent, whatever they have done with the people of Gaza. So everybody is aware of what Netanyahu is all about. His butchery is very well and pronouncedly, explained to everyone. So that's why Iran has a soft position over here, where everybody who is already not liking Netanyahu and his policies, and this is what happens to Iran, so then everybody is supporting that. Oh no, whatever has happened, it's not justified by all ways and means. And secondly, like stopping someone who has yet not acquired nuclear weapon, where IAEA say that no, it's not happening, and probably they are just fearing that maybe with the way they are accumulating all those material, they have the potential. So these things on making it an excuse and attacking and having a full-fledged war with another country, it's not justified. And then by inviting other countries to come and wage the war with us, it's not justified at all. So in
And
this situation,
especially at a time when they were already sitting at the negotiating table, they were
right.
discussing the ways to move forward, and that provided the Israelis with space to launch a surprise attack. So
So
that
this
even weakened their position internationally.
true. And this kind of indicates that Israel does not believe in diplomacy or dialogue. Israel don't want to sit on a negotiation table with the enemies or the countries or the people they have problem with. Israel only believes in might is right, which is not the way the world is going to accept, because everybody is sick of, from everybody I mean all states, they're sick of wars. Whatever is happening in Ukraine is having an impact on entire Europe, and all of us, our lives have been affected with it. Whatever has happened in Gaza, the Middle East is affected. And with Iran, we can see the prices of oil has gone up. So all these things, they are really related. We all states, we want to have peace. And Israel is the only monster at the moment who is not stopping. It's going beyond and making the life of all those countries who are affected or like some kind of interlinked with Israel or with other countries, their lives have been affected. So nobody wants to get into it. And at the moment, I don't see that any Western country will support Israel in this situation. But being the strongest ally, being a strong infiltration, they are pushing harder to bring them all into this war. Though America is providing and supplying weapons to Israel at the moment, but will it get into an actual conflict? It's still debatable.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farah, for your
Thank you.
time, and thank you very much for watching. I hope this commentary explains quite well where both countries are standing in terms of their military achievements and in the way they have been able to present their narrative to the world. Thank you very much for watching.